If you want to ask what my opinion is, don't move out. Okay? Oh, no, don't move out. I'm looking forward to splitting these bills right down the middle. Okay? That's the only reason I'm considering marriage at this point. Like, do you think about that? Like, married people can literally split their bills. Like, if I had someone else living here,
still unwritten. What's going on? The lies.
My name is Courtney Gore, and I'm living in Silver Spring, Maryland. I feel like everyone has the same thing, but it's your space. Like, you walk in after a long day, and you don't have to answer to anyone. You don't have to share anything with anyone. I come from a big family. Everything in here is mine. No one's going to take it. So it really feels good to have full autonomy of your space. That's my favorite part. I would say it could get lonely, but I host a lot. Like, I have people in my space a lot. I think the only thing is, again, growing up with a big family, my sisters and I shared a room until we were like 12. And it wasn't because we like had to, it was like because we like each other's company. So it does get weird where you have to orchestrate having people over or having people in your space. That's a weird concept, but that is the only drawback, and it's not even that big of a drawback because if you want someone over, invite them. This is just for anybody who is moving across the country. I am from Richmond, Virginia, but I went to law school and worked in Minnesota. So I was doing a legal fellowship, and at the end I knew I wanted to move to DC. So moving across country sucks because you really want to be able to go to a place, you want to see it, you want to touch it, you want to make sure everything is good, you want to see the neighbors. And so I was living in an apartment in Minnesota that I moved to actually without having seen it. I just relied on the pictures, I relied on Zillow, I relied on, apartments.com, crossed my fingers, and I did have a friend go look at it and take a video. And when I got there, I loved it, it was great, but there were drawbacks. The smell of cigarettes, I had someone who lived under me who smoked, and so I had to make all of these different efforts to make sure smoke didn't like run my life, but that was something that I know I could have circumvented had I looked at the apartment a couple of times. Furniture is a problem when you're moving across country. And so there were certain things about the Minnesota apartment I knew I needed to be here and see apartments before. I actually made a chart of like apartments. Anyone who's trying to move to the DMV area, that's District of Columbia, Maryland, like the Northern Virginia area, this market is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious because it's crazy, it's nuts. The amount of money that you have to have up front, your income, your credit score. In some places you can get a move-in deal. Don't ask for that or expect that here. You get like the first month free. Nah, it's no move-in specials. So one weekend, me, my sister, and my mom, we came to the DMV area and we went to like 8 apartments. The apartments that I thought were like 5-star, this is it, I would go and you walk outside and it's like, will I live? The apartments that I thought I could afford that were in my budget that were beautiful actually turned out to be something that I wouldn't be able to make livable. I had to reorganize myself, made a list of what was important to me because you're not going to get everything you want. You're just not. So for me, it was really important that I could commute to work. That means I didn't have to drive to work. I really wanted to make sure I had a safe environment. And so now I have like security and a doorman here, but that was important to me. And then also like a clean and quiet space. So narrowing down things like that helped me. Going to visit the apartments helped me. I am a type A ENTJ. I just learned that. So for me, that meant charts, Google Charts, documents, that meant appointments, going on Google Maps and like doing the distance between my apartment and to the courthouse, or my apartment and then to the office. All of those things, I had to sit with all of those things. And then finally, of course, looking at my budget, because you have to factor in costs. So say your rent, this is very hypothetical because we're in the DMV, is $1,000, which is a joke, by the way. Good luck finding an apartment for $1,000. You can't just base $1,000 and think, okay, I'm good. You also have to factor in, of course, amenities, but renter's insurance. You have to factor in any other costs that they tap on, because they will tap on other costs. So just being realistic about your budget. I pack in seeing a lot of apartments in one day because it really helps to compare and contrast. Like, okay, it's like house hunters. It really is like house hunters. And throughout that day, you can make some decisions. It's also good to bring someone with you that you trust. It can give you honest feedback about your life, because you may be so excited about having your own place that you forget like the practicality of what you actually need. Talk to your landlord about this. I moved into my last apartment. The utilities were already set up. So the electricity already turned on, the water was running. This apartment was not the same way. They were like, you have to go talk to Pepco, which is the electricity service. You have to talk to, you know, the water company to make sure everything is good. Like, that was how they operated. And so I didn't know that. And moving in that day, I moved my move-in plans a little later to like 4 or 5 p.m. versus 9 a.m. to make sure that everything was on before I got there.
What have you learned about yourself so far living on your own?
I really like Paris is Burning. I will watch that over and over again if no one else comes and sits with me. I'm a person of habit. I'm a person of nostalgia. I'm naturally an extrovert. I get my energy from other people. Learning that I have to, if I live on my own, this weekend, you have to get out of the house or you will just fall into this deep, like, not slumber, but hibernation. And it gets worse as it gets colder. So I really have to be careful about being in the house. The second thing is I realized that my need for instant gratification is really unhealthy. When I moved here, again, I moved from Minnesota, and I had furniture. I had everything set up. My apartment was immaculate. Sold most of my furniture in Minnesota because it was just too expensive to bring everything here and to have what I needed to move in for 2 months. Coming here, I was impatient. I wanted to have the perfect apartment set up right then. And it was hard for me to say, oh, this week you can buy your bed, and next week you can buy your kitchen table, and the next week you can buy your sofa, and the next week you can buy your TV. That was so hard for me. I have the basics. Well, the shelf is nice, but I have the basics, and there are still things I want to get, but I'm very much like bit by bit. So being patient with yourself. If you're a person that knows you'll max out your credit card to make sure you have everything you need, budget and plan for that. If you want to move out to have your own independence and that's solely the reason to do it, you have that right, but think about the long-term effect. If you can save, if you can make sure that you're in a strong place to enter your 30s or mid-20s in a better place financially, and just wait a little bit for that independence, unless it's a tumultuous situation, like things are just crazy, I would advise you just to think about your why and be sure that you're not jumping into something because you're tired of your parents telling you what to do. Honestly, I mean, just take it a little bit longer. That couple thousand could mean the difference in you living a very comfortable life. So think about your why. Do your thing, but think about your why. If you want to ask what my opinion is, don't move out. Okay? Oh, no, don't move out. I'm looking forward to splitting these bills right down the middle. Okay, that's the only reason I'm considering marriage at this point. Like, do you think about that? Like, married people can literally split their bills. Like, if I had someone else living here... Anyway, don't move out. Final thoughts. Don't do it. Why? Anyway, yeah.
Gotcha.